What is going on, market heroes? We're back, and now we're talking about calendar spreads. So, a lot of the strategies that we talk about have to do with selling options, and specifically, the reason we sell options again is because options are priced off their expected move, and over the last 100 years or so, the expected move has been greater than the actual move. Thus, options are overpriced, and it's more advantageous for us to not only manage our winners, but it's also even more advantageous for us to actually employ and execute those strategies where we're selling options in periods where volatility or the expected move is greater than average. And the reason for that is because the greater the expected move, the more overstated options prices are, right? So that's why we love to do it. However, volatility isn't greater than average all the time. And there are times when volatility is lower than average, right? And one of the strategies that we like to employ when volatility is lower than average is a calendar spread. So for those who don't know, a calendar spread is selling a put in one expiration cycle and buying a put further out expiration cycle at the exact same strike price. And this trade is done for debit, where most of the time we're receiving a credit for executing the strategy. Here for the calendar spread, we're actually paying to do so. So what I like to do is go to the put side and go to the 40 delta. So again, in the front month, we're going to sell the 40 delta put, and then we're going to go to the next monthly expiration cycle, and we're going to buy that same strike price, right? 244. That same strike price's call. Put. Right? So this is a calendar spread. You can see down here, it's a calendar spread. Again, I'm going to do that again just so everyone can see it. I'm going to go to the monthly expiration cycle that's closest to 50 days. I'm going to go to the 40 delta put. I'm going to sell that. I'm going to go to the next monthly expiration cycle, and I'm going to buy the put at that same strike price. In this case, it's the 244 strike price. Executing this strategy will cost us $138 to do, right? Now, we profit on this strategy a few ways. Number one is a decrease in prices. So, right? Number two is an increase in implied volatility, right? Over time, if implied volatility is increasing, what's going to happen is this back month put is going to increase in value greater than the front month's put is going to decrease in value, right? That is a profitable strategy for us. So again, if implied volatility increases, again, this put that we bought furthest out is going to increase in value more than the put that we sold in the closer expiration is going to decrease in value, right? So that's why we like to do it. And again, this isn't a very risky trade, just in the sense that the max loss is going to be what we pay for it, right? So the max loss is going to be $138. That's the max loss there, right? So that's what a calendar spread is. And again, I love doing calendar spreads, especially in periods of very low volatility. I absolutely love them. So let's find out if they're a profitable strategy. So again, just like all the other strategies, 2003 to present. So it's 14 and a half years of data every single day, depending on when you're watching this study. It could be more, right? So every single day we bought that same calendar spread, right? So we went and sold the 40 delta put in the monthly expiration cycle that's closest to 40 days away. Then we went to that same strike price in the next monthly expiration cycle and purchased that same strike price's put, right? So we created that calendar spread, and we did that every single day for 14 and a half plus years, right? Depending on when you're watching this video. And we held it to the expiration of the short put, right? We held it to the expiration of that short put. Here are the results. So we were right about 42% of the time, and the average P&L per trade was nothing, right? And our largest loss was $2.52, which means the most we paid for this was $2.52, right? So this trade, this calendar spread that benefits from one, a decrease in price, and number two, a increase in implied volatility, that hasn't happened a lot over the last 14 years or so, right? This is not a profitable strategy. But we have a couple tools up our sleeves like management and placing trades in certain levels of volatility that can maybe help us. So again, what we want to do now is, remember, we make money on calendar spreads if volatility increases. The reason we make money on calendar spreads if volatility increases is because we are short an option that is closer to the money than our long option. Options that are closer to expiring will decay faster than those that are further away from expiring. So if we're going to go ahead, and let's look at our example, if we're going to go ahead and we're going to sell a put in the October expiration cycle here, that's going to decay faster than the option that we have purchased that's further away from expiring, right? So if volatility increases, the value of that put that we bought that's furthest away from expiring is going to increase in value more than the put that we have sold is going to decrease in value, right? So again, that's how we make money off of that, right? But remember, we make money if volatility increases. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to go ahead and we wanted to do this strategy where we do it every day. And then we also wanted to see how it would happen if we bought these calendar spreads in periods of low volatility, when volatility was below its average. So again, this is different than a lot of the other strategies where we're selling options when volatility is greater than its average. Right here, we're buying this spread if volatility is lower than average, right? And we're just trying to see if all of a sudden that could make us more profitable. So if you remember, when we did it every single day, it turned out in the wash, we lost a penny per trade. However, when we executed the strategy of buying this call spread, we were right 51% of the time. We made about $11.52 per trade for an average, and the worst loss we had was about $200, right? So that's not bad, and especially when we think about the return on capital, right? If the average trade executing this strategy and holding until expiration nets us $11.54, if you think about, we pay $138 for that. So $11 and what is it? $11.54 is about an 8% return on capital, right? It's about an 8% return on capital in about a 50-day period, right? So that's pretty good. Again, the return on capital for a spread like this is pretty high, right? So that's pretty good. We turned the strategy into one that if we did it every day, just willy-nilly, it wasn't profitable. However, when we did it in the days when the expected move or volatility was lower than average, it turned out to be profitable. But again, we have more tricks up our sleeve because we haven't talked about early management. We always talk about early management when we talk about selling options, right? However, we haven't talked ever about early management when purchasing options, right? Which is really, really interesting thing. So the question is, now what happens? So we're going to do the trade every single day, and we're going to see how that goes. No management, right? We're going to do the trade every single day, and we're going to see what happens when we buy it back for 25% of max profit and 50% max profit, right? And these strategies, all these strategies were done in periods of low volatility, right? So again, with low volatility, we place a trade every day, held it to expiration. With low volatility, we place a trade every day, managed it if it hit 25% of our profit target, right? So again, if we have a trade that was $1.38 times 1.25, right? We would say if the value of this spread ever got to $1.72, we would buy it back. And then again, if we're looking to manage it 50%, if the value of this spread ever got to $2.07, we would look to buy it back. So that's what we're doing here. Here are the results. So again, this is all only executing the strategy when volatility is lower than its average, right? So if we do it again, you've seen this, if we do it again with no management, we make about $11.54, which is about 23 cents per day. Not bad. However, when we go to manage it, we're right 71% of the time, manage it 25%. We make about 53 cents per day, and we hold the trade for about 19 days. That's pretty good. And then if we hold it, and then if we manage it at 50%, right, we make about $12.98 per trade. When we make about 54 cents per day. So where we started out with a strategy that made you $0 if you did it every single day, now we turned it into one that we make 54 cents per day or 53 cents per day. So calendar spreads work great in periods of, again, low volatility. Now, we typically see periods of low volatility and volatility decreases when asset prices go higher. There's less quote-unquote fear, and the expected move is a lot lower. So when prices are up, when stocks are up, and volatility is lower than average, we suggest adding calendar spreads. Adding calendar spreads to your repertoire and looking to manage those calendar spreads at 25% or 50% of the debit you paid. So this is a really great one for periods of low volatility. I'll see you on the next video.